welcome to your unpaid therapist.
Hello, welcome to another episode of your unpaid therapist.
I'm not getting paid. I didn't even get a donut.
Oh, that's sexy though. I like it.
I'm Valery Milagros Ortiz.
I don't know.
I am your host, Alikona. She's away. Brad Ford. This is your unpaid therapist. Shoo-wah, cha-cha.
Shoo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba.
Hello, welcome to another episode of your unpaid therapist. I'm Valery. That is my beautiful co-host, Alikona, and y'all, I hope you know us by now because this is our season finale episode and we are talking about taking up space. We're talking about owning who you are. We're talking about going for the things that are in your heart and your mind. And it's very much what we did with this podcast, right? Trying to connect with you guys, trying to talk about the things that may be a little controversial, but also intriguing to us. Lots of vulnerability shared here, and we're going to continue that in today's episode, of course, do some highlights of our favorite episodes. But like always, before we get into it, this is one of our favorite things is our Never Have I Evers. So, Mijita.
Hey.
Alikona, would you like to go first?
I will. And for those of you watching the video, full discretion, I just had lunch. So if I have something in my teeth, that would be why. Okay, let's continue the show.
Fabulous girl. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so I am going to go with if you keep fanning it the other direction, there's a really big sign on the back with our logo. I'm going to take that. Yeah, that one. Because it's big.
Never have I ever wet the bed at any age where I shouldn't be wetting anything unintentionally.
Why did I pick that?
Why? Is this super relevant to your life right now?
I mean, yes and no. Okay. So I have not wet the bed, fortunately, at any time in my life that I am aware of. Okay. However, I will say, and apparently this is very common. I saw someone else do it and I was like, hee. And then it happened to me. So those of you know, I've been training in wrestling. Mm-hmm. And it's like a known thing, apparently, because they're always like, go to the bathroom. Before you do anything, in between everything, go to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, I drink a lot of water. And I do. I go to the bathroom all the time. So this girl does this running jump where you basically belly flop in the Superman position and land on the ring. And then she got up and was like, ooh, I gotta pee. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I looked at the ground and like there's a little, like a sprinkle. And I was like, oh, no. Stop it. Yes, it's a thing. And so that didn't happen to me like that, but I think somebody like threw me over their shoulder or something and I did a flip and just landed weird and hard and was like, oh, I sprinkled. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So, yes, I have ever.
I have ever very recently. That is really funny. And I love that you shared that story because I would have never thought. Not anytime recently. As a kid, all the time. My God, y'all, really? Like, yes, like I had to wear diapers to bed. Like, this is not even a lie, y'all. Like, when I was way too old to be wearing diapers to bed. Dead ass, because I would dream that, like, I'm getting up to pee, that it's like nighttime, and like, oh, here I go. Good for me. I did it. And I'm getting up to pee, like, you know, little undies off, your little booty on the seat, and then, you know, relief. And then it, you know, that like warmth scare of like, no, bitch, that was a dream. You are still in bed.
Dang.
Happened to me a lot, like way too, like too much, like too often.
Aww.
So that was a thing.
That's sweet. I will say, did you know, Valery, friends, I'm a sleep stripper.
What does that mean?
It means somehow I wake up and my clothes are off, but in weird positions. Like I've had my tank top like off, but the head was at my waist. Like I got my arms out of the shirt and I don't know, but I wake up with random pieces of clothes off of my body. And I'm like, what did I do last night?
All the fellas in the listening or watching are like, ooh.
Whoop, whoop. They're like, where are my pennies?
Okay, girl.
Okay, your turn.
Hey, never have I ever been ding ding. Never have I ever been nude in public. Dun, dun, dun. I feel like I should know this like off the top of my head, but I want to say yes
Hmm?
because of like because of like honeymooning and like you know what I mean? Like where not other people could see, but it was I guess if they wanted to, they could have,
Hmm.
with like binoculars or if they were just nosy. Um, but I have, but
Have you?
not like maybe I don't know if the card means like on a nude beach or because I haven't done that.
No, I definitely haven't done.
It hasn't
Haven't.
been indoors where like nobody could see.
Yeah, no, I've definitely never done any nudie work. But I'd be curious to know, Val, have you ever done a love scene where you've had to wear like just like little pasties or something very awkwardly
I
uncomfortable?
have never have to do that, and to be honest, like I fear the day. I do fear the day
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that would be, geez, yeah, I don't know about that. I'm like, can I get a body double? Let me.
Right?
So no for you as well.
Absolutely not. No, no, I have not.
Okay. All
But what
right.
I have done is learned how to take up space, y'all.
You're gonna have to take up space in what is it? Your sports bra first.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like Yale was describing in one of our past episodes. But let's talk about it. Like what I mean, we this is something that you and I talk about all the time is being comfortable in our own skin and being confident and all that. So what happened recently, if anything recently, that
Yes.
made you feel like
I
this
think,
is important to talk about again?
well, because the more I hate saying this, but I'm like, the older that I get. But as I've grown into myself, how about that? As I've grown into myself, I have learned that it is so important to take up space. I've spent so much of my life either apologizing for stuff I didn't do. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, why am I apologizing so often? Or I also notice, and I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, whenever I walk down the street, most of the time if I'm walking past a guy, he won't move. I'm usually like moving off to the side. I'm like, oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I have just as much right to walk down the street. Why am I apologizing? So recently I was all proud of myself. I told Val this story. I was on an airplane, and I also have noticed, because men don't think like we do, basically. Like, I hate to bring up the gender thing, but they don't. And so it's not even a thought in their mind. Like, they get on the plane and they're like, and they just put their arms on the armrest. I'm like, sir, just because you're in the middle and I'm a little person doesn't mean like take up my space.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not even, hey, do you mind? And his wife was next to him. So it's not like he couldn't lean off to her side. Like, he just felt the need to sprawl out. And he was skinny too. So I'm over here like, you know what? Like, foo you. And I just kind of put my elbow there and just started, and you could feel him kind of move a little bit, but I was like, no, this is my space too.
Mm.
Anyways, so it's more of a physical reference, but
The
yeah.
window.
Huh?
Were you in the aisle or window?
Aisle. I was in the aisle. So I mean, I get it, but at the same time, like I said, you're with your wife. You could have leaned in, but he just spread everywhere. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's interesting you say that because Instagram and their random little let's figure it out. Like that was a conversation of like who gets the armrest and who gets the power to put the shade up or shade down in the window, blah blah blah. But good for you. I think that's important. The whole running or walking when I'm jogging, that's a big thing for me too. Like man or woman. If I am like all the way to the right, like so I'm not in the middle of the whole path and I'm being considerate of all the other people walking, especially people with their dogs. Pet peeve, dog owners, when you're walking on a path that's shared, like don't let the leash go to the like longest fucking like possible length it could go. Like come on now. Like
gonna
one
trip
time,
somebody.
sometimes this happened, but one particular time, this person, a dude, had his dog's leash like the longest it could possibly go. The dog's on the other side of the trail. He's on the other one. So like me and this other dude were running. Like, you're going, right? You're in a zone. And the dude in front of me, luckily I was paying attention. He darn near had to jump and trip over this freaking leash because of this dude. I was like, what the F? Like, that's so rude. And then I like went around and whatever, but I was just like, come on. Like, are you no self-awareness? Like, what is happening? So I
Mm.
I will purposely, like, if I'm running and I'm already being considerate, like being all the way to the right, like I'm not I'm going.
You best move. Yeah, everybody else best move.
My shoulder will breeze past you on purpose. Like, talk about petty, but I'm gonna do it just because, like, I know you hear me.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like,
Yes.
like, some people had headphones or whatever, they're not paying attention, but like there's been a couple cases where they don't, and I'm like, and you see them kind of do this thing where they heard something coming and they still don't like adjust, and I'm like,
Yes.
and I can't, like, somebody else is like, I'm not being a total meanie. Um, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna breeze real quick past you because you just don't want
You
to
know,
move.
I would say, but do you know what I've noticed in life? And I don't know if you have or not, Val, or any of you guys at home, but I feel like the more personal growth I do and the more awareness that I gain, the more I notice things that I never noticed before. And it starts bothering me. So, and I'm not like, oh, holier than thou, because I'm now self aware. But I, I don't know. This is not a man hating episode. I love men. There's some wonderful men, but I look at some of like an older generation type of man. I'm like, Jesus, like the lack of awareness in, you know how they say like, quote unquote, white male privilege, but it's just male privilege in general, that you're like, you're really just not aware of like either the things that you're saying or the things that you're doing, and how either A, it's offensive, or B, how entitled you sound.
Yeah, that mansplaining people talk about all the time.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas before girls,
Fine.
yeah.
To pivot off of like the negativity of the men, and channel back into like what we can do to take that space up, positivity,
Yeah.
positivity,
Wah.
positively.
Yes. Yes. Please, please. Solution
Yeah,
oriented.
what are the things that, like, you would suggest or that you've done that obviously you gave us this great example on the plane, to have the confidence maybe to do that?
That's taken a while, and I think, and you know, you and I were talking about the fact that I feel like it has a little bit to do with self-worth and knowing that you're worth being treated a certain way. So for example, I've noticed, and this happens with men and women, it's such a little minute thing, but if somebody does something and it bothers you and it's not okay, I've learned to say something. So
Mhm.
prime example, I have a friend who's an amazing person, and I know he loves me to death as a friend, but dang, is he shitty at texting me back, or dang, is he shitty at like holding an obligation, not an obligation, what do you call it? A commitment. And
Yeah.
so, and it's a mutual, like Valerie, you know him or whatever. And he'll be like, "Hey, let's do da da da," and then he'll put me off because there's a party tonight that it's a social function that he wants to network. That's fine. Forget to text me back, and then finally I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like I'm done. I'm not gonna ghost you because I feel like I deserve more than this. No, I'm gonna let you know that this is not okay, but I'm gonna do it in a respectful way. So I was like, hey, have you noticed that whenever this comes up, you're like, oh, because Alikona is nice, and I know Alikona is understanding. She's not going to bitch at me. She's very understanding. So I feel like it's okay for me to tell her, hey, I have this networking thing I'd really love to go to. And then after that, there's a birthday party, and I really should go to it. That's cool. I'm only in town once every few months. And you made this commitment to me first. So this is really not okay. Because
Right.
now you're telling me I'm not a priority. And he was like, whoa, you're right. I'm so sorry. And the same thing with another person that we all both mutually know that
Mhm.
wouldn't necessarily always respond to. And they're all men, right? That just don't think to respond to a text or whatever. I'm like, hey, out of respect, if you don't have time, that's fine. But out of respect, acknowledge me. I think the biggest thing for me is acknowledgement. Just
Yeah.
acknowledge me. That's all. I don't know
Right.
if it's relevant.
Yeah, and I think that is true. I think that does happen, to nice people. And what's annoying about that, though, that then going back to like one of my favorite episodes, since we said we were going to share that, it's like the why men love bitches thing. Um, if you do stand on your own 2 feet, and you are a little bit more assertive in the past, maybe not now, but some people will say that trait or label you as a bitch, or I don't know what else. What else do they say about?
But we give that word meaning, and we don't want to be that bitch. And I think if you get to a point where you're like, I
Mhm.
am, so what? That's
Right.
what you think I am? I don't care.
Hmm. Well, yeah, and so, but it's almost like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. To some people, like
Right.
I do think that lately there's been so much awareness with that, all of that, and just more women speaking up and holding space or being accountable for their actions and being real blunt about how other people's actions affect them or how they feel and being unapologetic about it, which I really love that. But even with like the podcast or things that we've talked about, there's been times that I'm like posting or just recently with the podcast episode about the euthanasia and thoughts on that. As I'm like typing this, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be controversial. Like people are gonna have thoughts
Yeah.
on this. And I was like really hesitant on posting it. And I was like, look, it is what it
Yeah.
is. Like whether you believe it or agree with me or not, that's okay. I'm not worried about that. But that was a choice to be like, well, very much like you're saying, I'm gonna take up space and share this.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that up. Okay. Because for you and I, and for anybody else who is in the industry of being a public figure in any shape, way, or form, it's like you have to be so careful with what you put on social media and da da da. Because I had that same thought too, because there's 2 other engagements that I'm involved in that are considered quote unquote family friendly.
Mm,
And there are certain things where I was like, "Ooh, I don't know, Val, I might have to like uncollab." And then
mm.
I was like, "No, but I have an opinion and that's okay." Unfortunately, because I'm a woman, that opinion may not it might other people unfortunately may not think it's okay for me to have that opinion, or it's like, don't speak about politics if you're an entertainer, don't speak on this and don't speak on that. And obviously we talked about euthanasia and we talked about the right to do what you want with your body in regards to if you need to terminate a pregnancy. And I'm like, someone's going to get pissed off about that. You know what I mean? Like when we get really famous, someone's going to pull that out of the archives. And then I thought, you know what though, but that's my opinion. Like, why should I apologize for having an opinion?
Right. And even all of your advocacy for
Mm-hmm.
animals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love that there's so many movements for that now, and obviously PETA being like one of the biggest ones and most notarized or familiar for people who are not vegan or are unaware of. I guess I just feel like California or like New York, big cities, they're kind of used to that. But I love how vocal you are about it, how passionate you are about it, and how, I mean, you definitely have certain posts where it's just like, shame on y'all. Like, this isn't that hard. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's, and we've had this conversation so much. Like, we've had conversations with other people that we've asked certain questions and have had replies that are very polite
Yes.
or very carefully worded in order to not upset one person or another. And although I appreciate that approach, I don't respect it. I was talking to you and you know this, but to sharing with our listeners is like, I just really respect people who have an opinion, whether I believe it or not, and just have a stance. And I love talking with anybody who has an opinion or a stance on something and or knowledge of something that I don't know much about. Like I went to Alikona's place the other day and we were talking about that. We were talking about our conversation with Yale, one of our episodes, and how opinionated and strong she is. And even Freddie, who we haven't posted any of his episodes, and hopefully we can. But he, you know, very strong, opinionated man, and you with the, you know, veganism, and I love that shit.
Me too. Well, I love being able to have a conversation with somebody, have a strong opinion, not worry about offending them, and then later on we know we're going to be friends when we're done, right? And the
Yeah.
thing, and even like you mentioning that on social media, I do have a strong opinion, but that's only a fraction of it. I try my best not to be preachy, but if anybody were to ask me to enter a debate with them, then you might be in trouble because I am so passionate about it, and I've done a lot of reading and research and all that other good stuff. So yeah.
Which is important. And even with like religion, I know that one's like the touchy
Oof.
one of the biggest ones. But like, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but my brother is atheist, and I was raised Catholic. And I love talking to my brother about religion, and I wouldn't consider myself Catholic right now because I'm not. But I'm very spiritual, and I do believe in a God. And there's still a lot of things in the Bible that I question, and mic drop. I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
girl.
right, but it's very hard to say that to certain people. But I love having conversations with my brother because although I don't believe everything he believes, and he's very science, a lot of it makes sense. And I'm just like, yeah, I'd see why you think that. Like, true. You're right. That, yeah, I get it. And then certain people with some of their religious beliefs, most of the time I'm like, okay, I can see how you think. A lot of the times it sounds very like just as crazy as people thinking that crystals do this or that, or that Scientology is super whack. And I'm like, okay, but you do understand that this whole thought of Scientology and these aliens is just as crazy as what you think over here that says this stuff in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, depending on where you stand, they both sound way crazy. So like you can't like shit on people for their
Yeah.
beliefs.
That's like, okay, great example. So you brought up crystals, right? And somebody who is religious or whatever, maybe you're not religious, just a normal person walking down the street and you're like, oh, I wear this crystal pendant because, blah, blah, and they're like, yeah, okay. It wards off negative energy. You're right. It's a rock, lady. Okay, but if you were to travel back in time and take a remote control, you can't see anything coming out of the remote. But when you push the volume button, that the volume's going to go up. When you push power, it's going to turn on and turn off. You can't see anything. It's just a weird square box. But we have been conditioned to understand how the box works, and never, ever will we question when we pick up the box, is it not going to turn on the TV unless the battery died?
Right.
So take that same... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I want you to finish your thought.
I was going to say, so if you take that same principle to anything, as woo manifestation, which we had a conversation about, which you and I are both like, I believe a lot of it, but there are some things that I'm like, it's a buffet. The world is a buffet. You take the bits and pieces that make sense to you and you apply it to yourself. And if someone else is doing something and it doesn't make sense to you, as long as they ain't hurting anybody, do you, boo. But just don't go around telling people you should or shouldn't do something based on like religion or whatever social group you belong to.
Going back to your remote thing, like we understand science, y'all. We understand technology, but what she's referring to is energy. There still takes science and energy and technology to do what a remote control does. And some would say there's still energy and neutrons and protons and all that shit moving through crystals. So that's the reference, right? Depending on what you believe, there's still technically science behind both.
Right.
Which, yeah, it's super interesting. What were we going to say?
I would say auras, chakras, all those things that to most people are like, ooh, that's a little hippie or whatever. It's very California of you. Yes, it is. But again, there's also the science behind it. And I can't see an aura. My eyes aren't trained to, but some people can. Okay.
And I want to get into this name thing. So you were talking about, let's get into it. So she thought, actually, I will let you explain.
Well, I'm going to reel it right back into taking up space because we ended up all over the place, which is fine. That's how conversations go.
We were going to talk about favorite episodes. So
yes,
we're right in line.
Okay. So in the taking up space, I was saying to Valerie, I was like, well, say you're a very shy person, which I used to be, by the way. It's so funny because people are like, no. I'm like, yes. Anyway, you know how Beyonce has like Sasha Fierce is her alter ego. I'm like, okay, so let's play a little game. Let's figure out what our alter ego is. And if you can't be that person that nudges that man's elbow out of the way on the airplane, I told Valerie, I was like, maybe you can't, but Lightning Lola can. Wah, wah, And so I was like, okay, Val, like, you can start brewing some thoughts in your mind if you want to. I'm not going to have you name me and I name you. But it was like, and this is for all of you listeners at home too, look up the origin of your name, whether it's Greek or Latin or whatever, and see what the meaning is. And maybe that can be your inspiration. So for Valerie, I looked it up and it was I'm so mad. Okay, first of all, Valerie, your name was like strong, confidence, strength, this, like all these inspiring things. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna look up my name. And it was like, from the old town. That's it? From the old town? Like, okay.
Town. I wanted to. I'm thinking of that Old Town Road song.
Yeah. From the old town. Anyways, so Valerie, based on what your name, your strength, and your confidence, I mean, what would you, or do you have an alter ego? Do you already have a name?
I don't have a name, but I will say what as you were talking, I would say it'd be like V to the Mo because of J Lo,
Yes, yes.
to the Lo. So it'd be something like that, like Velo, V to the
um, okay. I mean,
exudes confidence.
well, I'm definitely not using anything from the old town.
Right.
But then there was this other thing that I had read. It was like, if you want to find your alter ego, you do, your first name would be the last thing that you ate. And then your last name would be your mother's maiden name. And I was like, oh, because I just ate a Korean dish called chap chai. And my mom, my, and my mom's last name is Kawamoto because she's Japanese. I'm like,
You better
so
own that shit. That sounds fierce. Go ahead.
I'm like, chap chai Kawamoto.
That's legit. Hold on. Mine would be like scrambled eggs. I don't know. Like what? That's terrible.
It sounds like, oh no.
Exactly. That's just Chow Kawa. I don't know what yours was, but
Try Kawamoto.
that's actually so. Would you adopt that, or do you have another like alter ego type?
That's a, I will think about it. Matt Marr, who you guys know and love from other episodes, is trying so hard to get me. So we're coming up with our characters right now, and oh, I can't say. Ooh, I almost said the name of the show. In this wrestling show that I'm in, and it's funny because I keep pushing the fact that I'm like, I want my character to be vegan, but like, like the not green machine because that's a drink, right? Naked juice, hello. But like the plant-based princess or I don't know, the vegan beast. And so Matt was like, girl, or he's like, sugar, you should totally be broccolina. And then when you win, you can take broccoli and you just shove it down your opponent's mouth. And I was like, okay. And so if you actually, our viewers can't see this because it's a program that we use to record this, but in my name, I filled it out and it's like broccolina and cheese.
I just saw that. I was watching the sound thing just to make sure like I could be heard. And I was like, broccoli, but all I could see, it says it stops at the I and then it's like dot dot dot. So I couldn't see the rest of it. I'm like, broccoli. Let's say she just ate. How funny.
Yeah.
I love that. No, I do think this like little alter ego thought helps. I've used it in public often. And because I am a little bit more introverted and shy, and sometimes, and I don't think I've actually talked about this on the podcast, but I have a social anxiety when I'm in, to be honest, even sometimes with people that I know. But I have actually told myself and had this inner monologue of like, okay, pretend and act like you're either a character that I've played before or just this new character. And so like I kind of step into myself of just like this, confident whatever, and I can just talk and not be scared or be like I don't like small talk. I hate the like, so what's been going on and and then you have to talk to people about what they've been doing. And like I just feel like I'm horrible at it and awkward at it.
She's not.
Well, you've never been with me in that situation. I feel like it's the worst. Oh God. Like I just even like like this birthday party I'm going to tomorrow for my friend's kids thing. Like the thought of seeing people I haven't seen in so many months and just having to be like, hey, so good to see you again. Like I just and that's genuine. Like it is good to see them, but like I hate that those few little things in the beginning of like,
what have you been doing?
just
I will say this. So two things. One, and it's interesting. So I've brought it up in past episodes. I'm a frequent class taker of sorts because I have
Yeah.
a membership to this thing called Mind Valley, who doesn't sponsor us, by the way. If you want to, you can, but they don't. So I'm not trying to commercial promote anything. Genuinely, I take classes from this online website, and one of them is becoming irresistibly sexy. And so this woman is trying to coach people, and I feel like because I'm a dancer, fortunately, I have had a lot of time and not to work on my body, to be comfortable in my body and the way it moves. But if you are the type of person that maybe hasn't found your strong feminine in your body, she'll do it through song, dance, and outfits. And she'll say, what's your spark? Meaning, like, what shoes make you feel powerful? Are they stilettos? Are they like a badass pair of Nikes? Wear those into the world. Walk and swish your hips and just step into your feminine. Wear a dress. If you feel like your personality is flowy, wear a dress that's flowy and airy and light. And if you feel like you want to be a badass, but you don't know how, dress that way and see if it feels good on you. And if it does, that's a piece of you. And if it doesn't, try something else. And so it's interesting because I've grown up in multiple costumes and makeup. I was a makeup artist. I was a dancer. I did stage stuff. But I will say, makeup and outfits are so powerful. And coincidentally, I didn't intentionally wear this outfit, which if you can't see me, it's like this mesh netted thing that I have on. And then I have funny hair and really strong makeup on today. Like unintentional. But I love
Unintentional? I feel like you do that often.
No, I mean, I didn't realize we were going to talk about this topic.
Oh, okay. I was
When
like,
I
what?
put my makeup on, I wasn't like, oh, this is
Gotcha.
broccolina and cheese today. This is my my chai kawamoto. No, I just mean like I do intentionally do all this stuff, and it does make me feel a certain way. And I've prided, is that a word? I've prode my no. I speak English. I pride myself in oh damn it I was so busy trying to get the word pride right that I don't even know where I was going. In being a chameleon. I love being a chameleon. I'm
You think you're a chameleon?
Yeah.
Alikona, she's away, Bradford. You are
What?
not a chameleon?
Yeah, chameleon, somebody who can easily change. And
Like you always stand out. You a chameleon.
oh no. Oh, I see what you're saying. I guess I define that differently.
Okay, because I was like, you don't blend like a chameleon
No, but
into
it
surroundings.
yeah, you're right. Okay, that's a bad analogy. When I say chameleon, I mean I'm constantly changing because
Okay.
not with my environment, but I mean I can
I
put
see.
on an outfit and be army fatigue girl, and it still suits me, or I can put on a really nice dress and find a dress that suits me that still makes me feminine. Or
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
does that make sense? Or I've been like
That makes
every
sense.
color in the rainbow. My
Yeah,
hair.
that
What?
makes sense. I just a chameleon. I immediately think of blending into its environment. It's like now they're on a leaf,
Mm.
so they blend into green leaf. Now they're by the way, because of course I have like photos and videos on my phone, but Liv was looking through my phone the other day and she's like, "Ah, she's so cool. I love her hair. It's the cutest." I was like, "I know, right?" And I'm like, "What color would you do your hair if you could do it any color?" And she was like, "Blue." I was like, "Oh, that's
Mm.
awesome." So I thought that was really cute. So just wanted to share that with you.
Oh, thank you. I feel like kids think I look like a cartoon character because I notice that when I'm on a plane or whatever, I always see even babies just like, huh, just staring at me. I'm like, hi, boo, you know?
Yeah, I mean, with Olivia particularly, she's such a girly girl and
Mm.
she is into just fun fashion color, like girl power. So
Mhm.
I think that was the way she looked at you, like, oh wow, that's cool. And also, I don't think she knows anybody who has cool hair. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
long because the one, um, it was like your hair was like down and it had like I think like kind of like braids in it ish.
Mhm.
Yeah, and she loves hairstyles and stuff, so it was cute.
I see. You know, what's always interesting to me is when people come up to me and they'll go, oh my God, I love your hair. I could never do that. And I'm like, but you could. Well, no, I could never pull it off. I'm like, but you could. It's
Yeah.
all a mindset. It's all in your, like, I only pull it off because I think I can. If you think you can, you could have a flaming mohawk on fire, and as long as you walk down the street and own it, it'll look good on you. If you walk down the street and you're being awkward and self-conscious, and of course people are like, that doesn't really suit him or her.
Yeah. And I think that is the thing. That's the key, is the owning it. It's the confidence behind it. It's that knowing of whether you think this looks good on me or not, I do. And that's all that matters. And having that sense of self. And I think that is hard. I feel like because I did grow up super sheltered, and we had because my brother didn't, but I had so many rules about, you can't paint your nails, you can't cut your hair, you can't shave your legs, no makeup. And so I didn't learn self-expression at a young age, and it being something positive and free. So I do feel like because I missed out on that, um I didn't have that very grounded, very strong sense of self. I was kind of like, okay. And thank
Yeah.
God I had my friend Karina, who was like super hip and trendy and cool, and she'd let me borrow some of her clothes and try to help me out and stuff. But I didn't have that. Like I'm like, I don't know, what do you think? Is this cute? You know?
Yeah.
And I still have that, like in
It,
moments I'm like,
it's interesting. I love that you say that, and I love the evolution of how parenting has become,
yeah.
because my parents were the same way. So, two stories. One, I used to work at a makeup counter, and this woman came up to me, and she had a little boy with her who was probably all of 3 years old, and he had on a tutu. And I was like, that is amazing, because she's like, I just let it's what he wants to wear, right? And he wandered off, and he's looking at purses, and she was like, my son is so gay. She said, I gave him some Legos and he built a blow dryer. And I was like, oh my God. She was like, but he is going to be the best makeup assistant to his mommy. And I thought, I love that. Like, I love that she's so embracing who he is and how he expresses himself. I love seeing little kids with the little pink stripe in their hair that their mommy lets them do that, because my parents were the same way. I mean, maybe your parents were a little bit different, but same general way. It's just that once I turned 18, it first started with the piercings. I've had so many gosh darn piercings, and you didn't even know. I realized you didn't know me in that phase.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that. Like, a guy had said to me recently, because I was involved with him when I was younger, that I somehow informed his taste into who he's into now. And I looked at the person he's into now, and I was like, huh? Like, wait, hold on, because she's like, she runs a little on the goth side, and I was like, I don't get it. And then I went back and I looked at old pictures of me, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, I had all these facials. I had my back pierced. I had my face pierced. I had like all sorts of colors.
Back.
Yeah. I had anchors that went down the small of my back, because I never wanted to get a tattoo because that's too permanent. And I got these really beautiful, like, light lime green gemstones that went from big to middle to small, and it went down like the base of my spine.
How does one get that?
It's an anchor. So if you've seen those people with anchors in their cheek that do like the like by their eye, do that make sense? Like, cut a little slit in your skin, and then they put the disc down, and there's a post that comes up, and then you just screw a gemstone in it. And I will tell you, it lasted for a while, but because of how short I am, I was getting groceries, and I kicked the door open to get inside the house, and my arms were full, and that doorknob sure did come down on the small of my back and hit all 3 gemstones. And I was like, oh, babe Jesus, that shit hurt. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. What was your favorite piercing?
That was one of my favorites. But I did have, like, I had I also did through my lip, the top and the bottom. So I've done a labrae, but I also had like one where there's gemstone at the top of in the center of my lip, and then below my lip. So then I would glue a little rhinestone in between, so it was in threes. I don't know why I like threes, but I just like the idea of like the drip look of my sparkle. So,
that is so crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, I'll have to find old pictures and show them to you.
Well, because we're going to have to post that photo to promote this episode.
Yes.
Because that is so crazy. Yeah, girl, like, I wanted to get my belly button pierced, and I got it when I had already moved to LA and was living out by myself. I was 18, 19 years old, 19. Like, too old. I mean, I wasn't, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So all that is really interesting. And I do think that it's hard because I understand why my parents did it, and I'm thankful that they did. I do see some little kids. So this is going to sound like I'm saying the opposite thing, but I do see some children who look like little adults, and I hate it. Like,
Mm-hmm,
they're
mm-hmm.
dressed like little adults, their little nails look like little adults, like, everything about what they represent is a little adult, and I'm just like, "Hmm, I want
Yeah,
you to look like a child." Like, I want,
yeah.
like, age appropriate
Yeah, but and I think there's
art.
a difference though, right? There's self-expression through color, through matching your outfits, and through coming up with funky, cool stuff. And then there's trying to be the adult you see on Instagram. That's a little different self-expression.
Right, but what if Sally or Bobby says, "I do like, I wanna wear that." Like, so what's the line, you know? Of
Um, when it starts getting provocative, I think that's the line. And it's not, hey, and it's, hey, if you want to wear this at home because you're playing dress up and you're using your imagination, I love that. I embrace that. Outside, we have to be a little bit more careful
Mm,
because other people don't understand. I mean, I don't know how I'd the exact verbiage, but it'd be more so this is something, this is how we can still express ourselves. But when we're outside, some people don't understand our self expression. And exploit is too big of a word, but something along the lines of just for safety reasons until you get to a certain age. We'll do that when we go out. But in the meantime, like have fun, wear whatever. I mean, within reason, right? Like I'm not going to let a kid wear some lingerie or anything, but
right, right.
you know,
Yeah, so it is really interesting because I hope it should start at a young age, that whole being able to step into yourself and the self-expression and the owning of space.
yes.
I sharing that with young people and especially little girls, to me, is important. Um, Again, it's all a very fine line because sometimes you do see children who, hmm, um, you're not the boss of me, and da 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 da, and
Yeah.
they got that somewhere else, and it's like, okay. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you tone some of that down? Some of this, like, but
Sass.
at the same time, I think it's good. I prefer that, and to kind of teach them about rules and laws and things like that than them be too shy and like
Right. I
scared.
will say, I want to take it back to the self expression with clothes because it's also become after we left school, it started to become more popular to wear school uniforms, or at least in California. I don't know because I didn't grow up
Oh,
in
it is.
California, but I've seen it a lot more here. And part of me, it's twofold. Part of me is like, that's actually cool because if you were a kid like me whose parents didn't have a whole lot of money and couldn't afford the name brand stuff,
That's right.
we're all uniform and wearing the same thing. You can't judge me for this sweater when you have the same damn sweater on. So in some senses, it protects the kids that maybe don't have the funds to be hip and trendy and cool, but it does also prevent somebody from fully self-expressing themselves. And I have my own opinions about school too, and how it does very much teach you to conform versus to blossom.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I mean, from a parent standpoint and financially and logistically, I do love the uniforms because you don't have little kids at like 6:30, 7 in the morning changing their mind about, never mind, I don't want to wear the purple sweater now. I want to wear the pink one. The pink one's dirty. You have to wear the purple one. Ah, meltdown, can't get out of the house. That is, having uniforms is just a beautiful, easy thing. And just money, economically, it also helps because it's like they have their set uniforms. You're not always having to restock their little closet, and everything that you said, like making them feel comfortable because, Hopi just got the new whatever mermaid shoes and I want them. And it's like, okay. Um, that's tough. And
Yeah.
I don't know, because even like certain schools, because of their certain rules, they don't let you do things like nail polish or, I don't know, certain things on the head or whatever. That part I'm kind of like, okay, they're already in uniform. Now you're worried that my baby girl has pink nails.
Get out.
That's a little ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
now we're doing the most.
Yeah.
So that I have a problem with because it's like, I don't, yeah, we
Yeah.
can go on and on. But all that to
um,
say, I love the fact that your parents were like mine, but you were able to find the confidence or that sense of self and be where you are now?
That only came because of two things. One, I was a dancer and I joined Culture Shock, which is a international youth dance program, if you will. And I was surrounded by so many different people. And again, there was a lot of stage stuff. And I also became a makeup artist at the same time. So I was experimenting and playing with color because I wanted to be a better artist. But at the same time, I had to wear all these costumes. And so it was really, honestly, it was dance that brought me out of my shell and the makeup that made me want to like experiment. And I think with that, I just went like AWOL. So it's like, I think it's just finding that creative outlet, whether you love fashion or this or that and the third. And also, too, because I didn't have a huge budget when I was entering the dance community and able to create my own outfits, it forced me to be creative. I'd get jeans that no longer fit my thick old thighs and cut them up and turn them into a jean skirt, but make it like an A-line diagonal. And then I would take some bleach and water and put it in a spray bottle and spray the denim. And all of a sudden I had these splatter marks. And so even though these are some jeans from high school, like pre-hips, I was able to like repurpose them. And all of a sudden everybody at Culture Shock would be like, that's so dope. Oh, can you make me some of those? And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's a different way of finding creativity and confidence in having a low budget.
Which is so cool. And not everybody could do that. And not everybody could own that the way that you do. And I think I've been taking a class too with talking about like commercials and stuff like that. And it is, as our teacher described, is finding what you're selling and knowing how to use that to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how to promote yourself commercially or even theatrically or just even in life, right? It's like, what are you
Yeah.
selling? What is your thing that's so very you and nobody can touch? And let it, it being through your hair, your wardrobe, just your personality, just that taking up space, I think is so important. Or even if, you're not quite there yet and you use your alter ego.
Yes, bring it back to the alter ego.
Moment.
I do want to do something really quick because this is what we're considering our season finale. And we said we were going to bring up some of our favorite things from past episodes. So to wrap it up, I'm going to put you on the spot and you can do the same for me because I haven't given this any thought yet. But
Yeah.
do a speed round, rapid fire. Tell me your top 3 moments of season 1. And that can include a never have I ever. It can include like this one quote that you had.
Sure. The very first moment, our first episode, and just having that live with Matt and just doing it. We had talked about this for so many years and having the support of everybody like tuning in. That was a favorite. I think doing my episode with David or doing a few episodes with David was really fun. Because, just having a partner who's supporting you and also being involved, that was a favorite. And another, trying to think. I don't want to like dead space in it.
I'll give you some of mine and maybe that'll spark something. Okay, so my favorite is episode 2, harnessing the power of no. And it was a great topic, but it wasn't even that. It was a few things. One, talk about how Matt was so great at saying no and how he said no to me multiple times, which put him in his head and was like, oh shit. But his never have I ever was the best. And it was never have I ever snuck onto a private property.
Oh,
And
yes.
when he snuck into his Uncle Andy's house, who like was running for governor but had a warrant out for his arrest.
Let the folks go listen.
Okay, you're right. Anyways, it's a really great story, guys. It's just, episode 2. Okay, and then my next favorite, I actually really enjoyed. It wasn't even a never have I ever, but having the opportunity to share a story with you guys about it was trauma and kink was the episode. That was a fun episode in general, but how look, I'll tell a little bit of the story because then maybe it'll entice you. But how I was in that public library and porn turned on, and I was like, oh. That was a great moment. I'm going to give you a couple. And then you had a really great quote once with Teresa Espinoza, who was our Magic Mike choreographer and danced with everybody and their mama. And you had said, write your dream or your goal. No, write your North Star in permanent marker, but write the journey in pencil. And I was like, that is so wise.
Yes.
So that was another favorite moment. I'm going to try to make it rounded up to 5, but have you thought of anything while I was saying those?
Honestly, the most recently, because it's in the top of my head, is our episode with Yale. I love who she stands for, or who she is as a person. I love a strong, opinionated person, and then for her to be an old friend of yours, and just some of her challenges to us, I thought were awesome and very necessary. And I think that you and I both aren't like Yale, and would hope to one day exude that confidence that she does. And I think very much in line with what the topic of today's episode is, and just very much in line with, I think, what a lot of women face. Yeah, I love that episode.
Yeah. I'm gonna agree with you there. Okay, I don't know if I'm gonna round it up to 5.
I mean, of course, we had the moment of the sun in the butthole.
Yes, oh my god, thank you. That was the best episode ever.
Very interesting.
For those I was say, for those of you who haven't listened, I think the funniest part about it is it really caught us off guard. But Val, if you want to give a teaser to the episode, you're more than welcome.
No, I mean, we were just talking about like meditation, and I honestly don't even remember why he said that.
Well, all I know is the casualness of Mr. Paul Benedict, right? Like we're having a conference and he just randomly is like, it's a perfectly normal thing to do, like sunning your butthole.
Yeah, or like,
I'm sorry, what?
Exactly. Just yeah, that was money. Anyway, all that to say is we've had a lot of really good memories. We started in my old apartment. We both of our lives really got picked up and like changed in a whirlwind. Both of our dogs passed away during this season, which was very hard. And we had a couple episodes where we kind of talked about that and life after death. So a lot has happened in our life and during this season before. Yeah, I mean, so it's just to think about that. I'm just super proud of us for taking up space in this forum. There's so many people doing this, and whatever, it's fun for us. Hopefully we've been connecting with all of you. And yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Amen. I can't put that any better. It's everything that you said and more.
Yes. So we look forward to starting a second season. We're going to switch it up a little bit for y'all when that time comes. But in the meantime, thank you for your support. It's been super fun. And
yes, thank you guys. And again, find us on all the things. We don't ever end the episode like this, but if you haven't followed us on IG, we are on IG. You're Unpaid Therapist. And of course, there's the Patreon. So you remember like Patreon, we had Brandy come. She got to guest a couple episodes. We do private Zoom parties with her and all sorts of goodies. So if you want a little extra, like you just can't get enough of Valery and her freaking gorgeous eyes and her pretty teeth and her Vidal Sassoon hair. Then you're going to want to subscribe. Subscribe to Patreon.
Or you want to hear more about Alikona's like taking off her clothes while she's sleeping.
Well, okay, we just went that direction.
Personality and more inside scoops about what she's doing in the interim with all this wrestling and stuff, and the tour that she's about to do this summer.
Oh, that's right.
There's a lot. There's a lot. So thank y'all. And until next time,
we love you. Mwah.